They won't say it out loud. But in the cold mechanics of power, your worth is measured by your utility. If you are no longer useful, you're not ignored, you're erased. This isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. Niccolo Machiavelli warned rulers centuries ago, he who is no longer needed becomes dangerous, because those who serve no function disrupt the order. In the eyes of power, they are dead weight, and power, like nature, abhors waste. In today's world, this principle is hidden behind polite phrases. We're going in another direction. Your position is being restructured. Let's circle back in the future. But behind these words is the same cold truth. Relevance is survival. Obsolescence is exile. The moment you no longer offer value, emotional, social, intellectual, or financial, you begin to vanish. You won't hear the door slam shut. It's quieter than that. Invitations stop coming. Messages go unanswered. Attention fades. People don't confront irrelevance, they silently outgrow it. This is not just about corporations cutting employees or governments abandoning the old. It's about your relationships, your friendships, even your family ties. Are you useful to their narrative? Do you serve their sense of identity, validation, or gain? If not, you'll feel it, not immediately, but gradually. A slow fade into invisibility. Machiavelli understood that power is not sustained through love or loyalty, but through relevance. A ruler who is loved but powerless will be overthrown. A ruler who is feared but necessary remains. It's not fair, but it's functional. In this brutal equation, the currency is contribution. Your presence must justify itself. And in a world obsessed with optimization, where even people are assets, you're always being evaluated. This is why many high achievers feel anxious when they're not producing. It's not just ambition, it's fear. The subconscious terror of becoming dispensable. In relationships, we perform, not out of joy, but to prove our continued value. We show up with emotional labor, with usefulness disguised as affection, because we've learned those who stop serving, stop existing. But here's the deeper question. Are you useful, or are you being used? There's a difference, and the powerful know how to blur the line. Let's look deeper into how power structures engineer this dependency and why staying relevant has nothing to do with being authentic. We live in a world that demands performance, not just in work, but in identity. You're not just expected to do, you're expected to display. The useful man must now advertise his usefulness, constantly, loudly, or he becomes invisible. This is why social media thrives. It turns relevance into a theater where people audition every day for attention, validation, survival. If you're not posting, you're vanishing. If you're not visible, you're irrelevant. And if you're irrelevant, you're replaceable. Machiavelli understood this psychological mechanism long before it had a name. He knew that power doesn't just require results, it requires perception. In his words, it is not enough to have power, one must appear powerful. In today's world, this appearance is everything. CEOs craft personal brands. Activists compete for moral capital. Even spirituality has metrics, followers, likes, virality. You are useful not because of who you are, but because of what you appear to provide. And when the illusion fades, so does your value. But here's the danger. When your entire existence is wrapped around being useful, you lose yourself. You become a function, not a person. Your worth becomes transactional, conditional, temporary. You wake up each day asking, what can I offer today to stay relevant? What must I post, say, prove, to not be forgotten? This is not evolution, it's erosion. The erosion of authenticity, of stillness, of the sacred parts of you that don't perform. In this performance economy, silence is not golden. It's threatening. Stillness is not wisdom. It's weakness. And anything that cannot be monetized, optimized, or weaponized is discarded. So what happens to the parts of you that are not useful, the emotions that don't serve, the questions that have no answers? They're pushed underground, suppressed, shamed, and over time you forget how to feel them. Because you've learned only the parts of you that are profitable are safe, you become a curated self, a marketable mask, not because you're fake, but because you're afraid. Afraid of irrelevance, afraid of being eliminated. This is the dark truth of modern identity. You are only as valuable as your last contribution. But there's a rebellion stirring, quiet, dangerous, human. A whisper that says, I am not my utility. Society doesn't eliminate you with bullets. It erases you with silence. You don't get destroyed, you get ignored. And in a world addicted to noise, being ignored feels like death. This is the cruelty of modern relevance. Your value is measured not by who you are, but by how long people remember you. Think about it. A scandal keeps you trending. A tragedy earns sympathy. But quiet virtue, obscurity. This is why outrage sells, why controversy thrives. Because in a system built on attention, intensity is currency. And here's the paradox. Even rebellion must now be marketable. Your resistance must be tweetable. Your rage must be aesthetic. If it doesn't fit the feed, it doesn't exist. You are no longer a person. You're a product, a profile, a performance. Nietzsche foresaw this collapse. He warned that the modern man would become the hollow shell, filled with borrowed opinions, chasing borrowed dreams. He saw the danger of a culture that rewards performance over presence, noise over nuance. And this erosion of identity, this replacement of being with branding, is not accidental, it's strategic. Because people who are chasing relevance never question the system. They are too busy optimizing themselves to rebel, too addicted to validation to think, too afraid of being forgotten to ask what truly matters. And the more useful you become to the system, the more you lose your ability to question it. You don't notice the chains because they look like opportunities. You don't resist the control because it feels like applause. This is how power survives now, not through oppression, but through seduction. It doesn't force you to obey. It convinces you that being seen is the same as being free. But real freedom begins with irrelevance, with being willing to be forgotten in order to remember who you are, because the self you protect by performing isn't you. It's a costume, and the longer you wear it, the more you disappear. So ask yourself, brutally, honestly, if the world stopped watching, would you still exist? What's the easiest way to erase someone in the 21st century? Make them irrelevant, not hated, not silenced, just unnoticed. Because in today's psychological ecosystem, attention is survival, and being forgotten is the new death penalty. The system doesn't need to oppress you, not directly. It only needs to convince you that your worth depends on your visibility. And once you believe that, you'll sell your soul just to stay in frame. This is the brutal economy of relevance, where human value is auctioned to the highest bidder of clicks, where your depth means nothing unless it trends. And here's the part most don't see. This game wasn't built by accident, it's engineered by industries, platforms, and ideologies that thrive when you doubt yourself and compete for attention. Because a person who's always proving they matter never has time to ask who benefits from that need. So the moment you feel disposable, that's not a glitch, it's the design. It's how the powerful stay powerful, by keeping you useful but never fulfilled, visible but never seen, busy but never present. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." In this age, the principle has evolved. It's much safer to be useful than truthful, and if you cannot be both. But usefulness has a price. You become a tool, and tools are discarded when dull, so what's the way out? You stop playing their game, you reclaim silence, you rediscover depth. You become unpredictable, not in the algorithm, not for sale. You choose substance over spectacle, and in doing so, you become dangerous, because the one thing the system cannot process is someone who doesn't need it. And that leads us to the final paradox. Why is it that mystery, not transparency, creates power? Why is it that those who reveal less are respected more? In the next journey, we'll unravel the Machiavellian truth of mystery, and why being fully known is not a virtue, but a vulnerability. So tell me, if no one ever saw what you did, would you still do it? Or are you only alive when someone's watching?